Have you ever walked away from a conversation and then, 5 minutes later, thought, wait, that's what I should have said? So you replay the conversation in your head, except this time, you give the perfect response. They say something clever. You say something even better. They try to argue. You have an answer ready. And somehow, you just won an argument that ended 20 minutes ago. Or maybe it hasn't even happened yet. You're lying in bed imagining how you'll handle a difficult conversation tomorrow. You're imagining getting that job, meeting someone you like, finally proving yourself. Or you're creating an entire disaster movie about something that probably won't even happen. And here's the weird part. You can actually feel these imaginary situations. Your heart speeds up. You get annoyed, you feel nervous, you feel excited, sometimes you even smile. Nothing happened, but your brain reacted like something did. Hey, my name is Ponder, and I ponder way too much about why our brain keeps creating stories that never happen. And here's the thing. Your brain isn't randomly making these scenarios. So why? Why does your mind spend so much time creating scenarios that don't exist? Well, your brain is constantly trying to predict what happens next. And sometimes, it does that by running little simulations. Think about it. Before an important presentation, you might imagine yourself standing in front of everyone. Before asking someone a difficult question, you might rehearse what you're going to say. Before an interview, you mentally practice possible questions. That's not your brain malfunctioning. That's your brain preparing. It's basically saying, let's see what could happen before we actually have to deal with it. And that's incredibly useful. But there's a catch. Your brain doesn't only simulate situations that are actually useful. Sometimes it starts simulating situations simply because something feels unfinished. Maybe someone said something rude to you earlier. At the time, you froze. You didn't know what to say. Then 3 hours later, while you're brushing your teeth, your brain suddenly goes, oh, now I know what I should have said. And there it is. The imaginary conversation begins. You finally say everything you wanted to say. You explain yourself perfectly. They understand. You get the ending you didn't get in real life. And for a moment, your brain gives you something reality didn't, a sense of completion. That's one reason imaginary scenarios can feel so satisfying. You're not necessarily obsessed with the conversation. You're trying to resolve the emotion attached to it. Maybe you felt embarrassed. Maybe you felt ignored. Maybe you felt powerless. Or maybe you simply wish things had gone differently. So your brain creates another version, a version where you have control. And that's a huge part of this entire phenomenon. Control. Because real life is terrible at giving us control. You can't control what someone thinks about you. You can't control whether someone likes you. You can't control how your boss reacts. You can't control whether your message gets ignored. And you definitely can't go back in time and change what you said. But inside your imagination, you control everything. You choose the words. You choose the response. You choose the ending. You can make yourself confident. You can make yourself successful. You can make the person who misunderstood you finally understand. Reality has no rewind button. Your imagination does. And that's why your brain can become very attached to these scenarios. But there's another type of scenario we need to talk about. The future version of you. Maybe you've imagined yourself becoming successful, walking into a room confident, getting the recognition you've always wanted, finally having enough money, finally becoming disciplined, finally proving everyone wrong. And there's nothing inherently wrong with that. Actually, imagining a future can help you clarify what you want. The problem begins when the imagined future starts giving you the emotional reward without requiring the real-world effort. You imagine yourself succeeding. You feel proud. You feel motivated. You experience the victory. But then, you don't actually do the thing. You imagine the destination so vividly that your brain got a tiny taste of the reward without taking a single step toward it. And that's when imagination can quietly turn from preparation into escape. This is the line you want to watch. Ask yourself, is this scenario helping me prepare or helping me avoid? If you're imagining how to have an uncomfortable conversation and then actually have it, that's preparation. If you're imagining the conversation every night, but never actually saying what needs to be said, that's avoidance. If you're imagining becoming successful and then using that fantasy to avoid doing today's boring work, that's escape. And here's something important. You don't need to stop imagining things. Your imagination is one of the most powerful tools your brain has. It's how humans plan, create, solve problems, write stories, invent things, prepare for uncertainty. The goal isn't to destroy imagination. It's to stop letting imagination replace reality. Because there's another problem with living too much inside these scenarios. Your imagined world always follows your script. Real people don't. You imagine someone responding exactly the way you want. Then reality gives you something completely different. And suddenly you're disappointed. Not because the person did something terrible, but because they failed to behave like the character your brain created. This happens in relationships all the time. You can build an entire version of someone inside your head. You imagine the conversations, the chemistry, the future, the perfect moment. Then you finally interact with the real person. And they're just a human being. Messy, unpredictable, different from your imagination. And sometimes reality feels disappointing simply because your imagination was too perfect. So what do you do when you catch yourself drifting into one of these scenarios? Don't yell at yourself. Stop overthinking. That usually just creates another thought. Instead, do something simpler. Ask, what is this scenario trying to give me? Is it control, closure, confidence, preparation, recognition, safety? Once you identify what your brain is looking for, you can give yourself a real-world version of it. If you want closure, write down what you wish you'd said. If you want confidence, take one small action that proves you're capable. If you're preparing for a conversation, stop rehearsing forever and actually have the conversation. If you're imagining a better future, ask yourself, what's one thing I can do today that moves me toward it? Because that's the difference between imagination that helps you and imagination that traps you. One gives you a rehearsal, the other gives you a substitute. And the next time you catch yourself having a full conversation with someone who isn't even there, don't immediately feel weird about it. Your brain may simply be trying to prepare you for uncertainty. Finish something that feels unresolved, or experience a version of life where you finally have control. Just remember, you can visit the world inside your head. You just can't move there. Because your imaginary conversations can never give you the experience of a real one. Your imaginary success can never replace the work, and your perfect future can never become real. Until you step out of your head and start doing something in the real world, your brain can write 1,000 possible stories, but you only get to live one. So, the next time your mind starts creating another imaginary scenario, listen to it. Figure out what it's trying to tell you. Then ask yourself one final question. What would it look like to do this for real? Because maybe the point of imagining the life you want isn't to escape into it. Maybe it's to discover what you're ready to build.